recent study from American Student Assistance had found that 35% of recent graduates have difficulty buying the daily necessities that they need to live. Given this, what are your plans to reduce the burden of student loan debt in this nation? Beth, you're up first. 2 minutes.
I think that student debt has gone the way of health care. It has just blown up. We have to devise a program that educates our children without the debt. I will work on programs where we can college educate our children without the enormous debt. Now, there's a lot of things that go into that. We have a lot of administrative costs, just like in healthcare. It is just, I mean, sit down at the PNC Park and look at the skyline and see how many nonprofits are in the skyline. I mean, that is coming out of our policy. University of Pittsburgh, they have bought all of Oakland. That's coming out of tuition. The professors aren't being paid that much. It's in administration. There's a lot of fat. We got to cut to the chase. These kids are graduating, and I just had two sons graduate, and I worked my tail off to take care of them. But their friends graduated with $120,000 to $200,000 in debt for education. That's wrong. That's unconscionable. We have to solve this problem. I will solve it.
Yeah, we're basically giving kids a house mortgage coming out of college. And what do you start at college, right? You start an entry-level position, and you know what? A lot of the jobs for these degrees don't even exist anymore. And then what do? We increase the interest rates of these student loans to even put even further out of their ability to pay them back. We need more debt forgiveness. When I read up on this and really study the economics, what the counters, the biggest counter is, well, then people are going to expect that of other types of debt. Really, that's what it is? Like we're a bunch of silly children who just can't handle having education. What we do know is that the more education a society gets, the more economically better off that society becomes. There is nothing wrong with making colleges, and it doesn't have to be just colleges, trade schools, and other types of education more attainable without the debt burden. I say also, like NIH, I'm in research. We get our grants based on federal money. Federal money is set by your investigators and in tiers of it. We could do the same thing to the institutions. You receive federal money. We decide on the tiers of how you're paid out, so that administrators, school highest administrators aren't overpaid, weighing up, taking up the money that could be used for the students and the professors that teach them. We could restructure the entire college education financial system. There is no reason it needs to be like this, and it's putting education out of reach, and it's putting out the outreach for a lot of children to go into an education system that could otherwise prosper.
I love this question because this is what I've been studying the past 5 years. I study college cost and affordability. I study student loans. I study student debt. I study college access, completion, and persistence. The citation you there is from Sarah Godric-Rab in the Wisconsin Hope Lab. I've presented on panels with her. The real student debt problem is not those who graduate with $120,000 or $200,000 debt, because they've gone to school long enough to warrant a degree that enables that kind of debt, and they can pay that back eventually. The real student debt problem is those who limp into college, get maybe a $1,000, $2,000 loan, and can't pay that first semester tuition. Now, maybe they have to drop out. Now they have a cycle of debt started without the degree that's going to enable them to eventually pay that debt down. The real student debt problem we have is in small dollar amounts, and that cycles into a vicious cycle of more and more debt and more entrapment, really. Your one healthcare emergency, which is why we need universal healthcare, your one car breakdown away from being stuck in debt forever. And so what we can do is help more kids get into college, more kids persist through college. 2 nights ago, as part of my dissertation research, I was interviewing a family about financial aid. The kid didn't know he was smart enough to get into college and do well and play sports. He was looking, he was looking at his composite as ACT score, not his cumulative or combined ACT score. The idea is we can do more if we just reach out and have the resources available to help more students not only get into college, but then have the supports that they need to persist through and complete college. So sure, they might even finish with a little bit of debt, but the most important thing is that they have the degree that will get them that job that enables them to pay down that debt. And it is unconscionable, it is criminal, that if you've agreed to work in a public sector job so that your debt will be forgiven, that gets taken away from you. There's a lot that we can do to address student debt, but it really focuses on prioritizing student success.
So, I think I mentioned to you guys that I've been working in politics. Maybe I haven't. I've been working in politics nights and weekends since '04. I've always thought it very, very worthy work, pushing ideas and doing things. And I was helping a guy run a state rep race in Philadelphia some years ago. And one of my volunteers was this incredibly smart kid, whose mom was a receptionist or a housekeeper at one of the local hotels. He could have gone to any school in the world, but he didn't have any money. And so he went to Montgomery County Community College for a couple of years. And this still cost him money. This was still putting his mom and putting his family back. I think that as a minimum, look, I have debt myself from college. I imagine everyone up here has debt in college, but I have debt from college myself. I know how important it is and how difficult it is to pay it back. At a minimum, we should make community college free for the first 2 years. And this is, I think, not only for kids, but as you move into mid-career as well. But also, we should make it much more transparent. Schools are very hesitant to say things like, this is what the percentage, this is how many graduates actually get jobs within 6 months in these majors from the school. I went to Duquesne University, and everyone knew that if you walked into a pharmacy program at Duquesne University in the 80s, you had 100% job placement. So they knew, those people knew that when I go there, I take out the loan, I'll be able to get it paid back. There should be much more transparency around that. We should also allow people to do things like public service. I like the idea of letting people go and do things that are good for the community for a couple of years to enable them to pay off and to have the government pay down some of that debt for them if they're doing important things here for the country and for the area.